I 1,000% believe in manifesting, but a lot of us are doing manifesting wrong, where you create a vision board about the big vision.
Mhm.
And what research shows is that simply having the beach house or the marathon finish line on your vision board is actually demotivating. Because what starts to happen for people is you see the thing that you want and you start to feel further and further and further away from it. And so, yes, you should have big dreams. And yes, you should write them down every day. And yes, you should do that because you have a filter in your brain that I'm teaching you to use and to program, that will change in real time based on what you tell it is important. But the most important part of manifesting is activating something in your brain called the Zeigarnik effect, or the Zeigarnik effect. And that is for you to pick the beach house. So let's use a marathon, because a marathon is a really simple metaphor that everybody understands. Let's say you want to check off a bucket list item and you want to complete a marathon, which is 26.2 miles. Yes, put the finish line up. Yes, put the race bib up. Yes, put up all these things that show you what it feels like to accomplish the goal. But if you really want to get it done, also put on that board a photo of somebody running in the rain. Also put on that board a photo of an alarm clock that says 5:13 a.m.
The reality.
Also put up the reality. And then when you're manifesting and you're thinking about crossing that finish line, don't stay on the finish line. Think about what it's going to be like in February when you're on mile 11 on a training run and your earbuds run out and it starts to rain and you see yourself continuing to run. And when you manifest and visualize and allow yourself to feel that moment, the moment in between, the work that gets you there, you want a business of your own, manifest late nights, manifest the text where you say, sorry, I got to stay in and work on something, can't come to the party. Manifest you being told no. Manifest the thing getting canceled. Manifest picking up the phone again, because what you're doing is you're socializing your nervous system and your brain and your heart and your soul to do the work and to not stop when all of the things that happen that come into your way will eventually believe. And this is a way to cultivate something that I'm going to teach you how to do, which is to have a high five attitude. A high five attitude is simply the belief that if you continue to work hard, if you stay optimistic, if you give up your timeline through optimism, through hard work, you can figure it out. Things will work out how they're meant to work out. You can make a difference through your attitude and your effort on anything. That's a high five attitude, that no matter what's going on around you.
Do you believe in pessimism and optimistic personalities, or do you believe that pessimism and optimism are a choice? Like, because some people have come from a land of no, and is that learned, or is that something you have to work towards? The land of knowers, who
depends on the baby's first word.
I think it's an excellent question. And I believe optimism is a skill that everybody needs to practice and learn, because all the studies show that when you have a more positive outlook, and I believe in realistic optimism. That doesn't mean toxic positivity. It doesn't mean that you can put a nice brush stroke on really shitty problems that people face, from poverty to racism to discrimination to all these things that are real. You may be facing a death in your family. You may have a heartbreak. Somebody may have cheated. Like, this shit is real.
Yeah.
But here's the difference that an optimistic or high five attitude has. When you become pessimistic, the obstacles magnify and your belief in yourself diminishes. When you start to, again, high five yourself in that mirror. And here's the thing, especially if you're going through a challenging time, you need it more than ever. Because when you raise the hand and you go to high five yourself, right when somebody just said, I'm sorry, I don't love you anymore, I've fallen in love with your best friend, the high five is also an acknowledgement that this fucking sucks. I see you. I see that this sucks. And it's also in the same time saying, and you know what? You're going to be okay. I got you. I got your back. We don't watch a marathon, right? If you're a spectator at a marathon, you don't stand at mile 8 and go, "You're not done yet. I'm not cheering for you right now, loser." Look at that split time for that half mile. You don't do that. You freaking high five and cheer for the runners every step of the way because it's what keeps them going. You see, we have bought into this lie that you got to hit the number on the scale before you're going to celebrate yourself. You have to have the money in the bank account. You have to have the right relationship. You got to be where you're supposed to be and drive the right car and have the right house and have the right friend group before you will celebrate yourself. I'm here to tell you it's the opposite.
Right.
You actually need to show up every day and give yourself the support. If you can drag your ass out of bed after these last 18 months and you're still breathing and you're still trying to do a little bit better, you not only deserve a high five, you need one. And one more thing about our kids, we can bolster our kids all you want. You want to know, there's so much too in this book about parenting, because I've got a ton of stories about parenting mistakes I've made, ways I've plummeted my kids' esteem, things that are heartbreaking, as I was writing this book, chapter 4, I get a text from one of our daughters. How do I not feel like the ugliest girl at the bar every time I go out? You want to know something as a mom? I can't change that. Only she can. If I stand in front of the mirror and say, but you're beautiful, but you're loyal, but you're an amazing human being, but you're funny, but you're this, and you will meet somebody, you just haven't met the right, she can't even hear it because it's not what she says to herself. Mm-hmm. So the reason why you have to make this a habit to stand before yourself, the human being, and see the human being in that body, and recognize that you're sad, or recognize that you're beating yourself up, or recognize that you're not where you need to be. And then raise your hand and say, I hear it. And you know what? I still love you. I still support you. I'm still here for you. Only she can change that for herself.
Yeah.
I can provide tools. I can provide a nutritionist.
Totally.
I can provide a psychologist, but your children and you, they got to do the work themselves. And so this is a tool that will help them do it.
There's something that happens between, young children, because I have a 5-year-old who can't look in the mirror, or 6-year-old who can't see herself, right? Because she's not tall enough to look in all the mirrors. And so she's not looking at herself constantly. And I would say all of our kids when they were younger just love themselves so much, right? They think they're beautiful and strong and
best singers, best dancers.
Yeah, my hair is amazing. I am beautiful. And there's something that happens with comparisons when they begin to, although she's obsessed with her older sister, but there's this thing that they have this confidence. And somehow if we can think about that as adults, that, we have, at one point we were madly in love with ourselves, because that's what young children do, or they're madly in love with themselves, and then you lose it. So you had it, and then something happened for you to begin to lose it. So you can be inspired by the children around us, because that person hasn't changed. That person has just been told to not love themselves like that child has loved them. So it's going back to that original, there's so much beauty in that toddler, or that 5-year-old who walks down in their tutu, and everyone's looking at them and they're like, look at me, and we stop saying that. We say, don't look at me. And there's a shift.
You're exactly right. Well, you want to know the good news? The good news is all that is wired into your DNA.
Yes.
Life made you doubt it. And so this is a way to get back to who you really are. And that doesn't mean you're arrogant. It doesn't mean that you're selfish. It means that of every human being on the planet, you realize you're the one person you go through life with, and that your relationship with yourself is the foundation of every relationship that you have. Because if you don't love yourself, you will never believe that somebody else truly loves you, and you'll continue to sabotage that relationship. If you are insecure with the person you see in the mirror, you will behave in insecure ways out in the world. It starts with you.
Expect your relationships to fill that. I think a lot of obviously people have to read this book, because I think it's going to help so many people, like you said. and we have been taking up so much of your time, but I want to ask one last question, which is a lot of women, when we talk about manifesting or believing in themselves, their partner or spouse will be the first one to, kind of knock them down or be like, this is the dumb, like, what are you doing? This is so dumb. Or, when they begin to find themselves, it's a really nervous feeling for the partner and it can rock their relationship. Any advice? We did a kind of like a dream, what was it, like a live where people came in and they're like, I can't show my husband or my partner when we did the vision boarding. I could never show them because they would just like laugh at me for it. I'm too embarrassed to show them. I guess you just work on yourself and you when your partner sees
let me give you a perspective check. Okay. On this. Okay. First of all, it's super normal. That doesn't necessarily mean you need to end the relationship. It's super normal to have the people closest to you not cheer for you and not celebrate you. And there's a reason why. And I'm going to tell you a quick story. I think I write about this in the book. So there was a period of time after Chris's restaurants failed that he stopped drinking completely and started to get, himself whole again. And I remember very distinctly when that happened, I was cooking and I went to pour myself a glass of wine. And I noticed I felt self-conscious that I was about to have a big glass of wine and he was drinking water. And so I immediately did what your husbands and partners are doing. I was like, oh, come on, just have a glass of wine. Why do you need to be sober? Like I started sabotaging and undermining the changes he wanted to make in his life. Why? I'll tell you why. Because his changes made me confronted about what I was doing. And so Chris turned to me and he said, Mel, I don't want a glass of wine. If you want to have a glass of wine, great, have a glass of wine. And then he said this, nobody cares about what's in your cup except for you. So if you don't like what's in your cup, stop barking about what's in mine and focus on what should be in yours. And so keep in mind that any change that you're making is confronting to somebody who's not changing. Mm-hmm. Right. You have got to keep showing up and cheering for yourself. And this is especially true for women because we've been socialized to believe that our worth is determined by whether or not somebody else approves or somebody else loves us. You got to be able to look in the mirror.
Yes.
To see a human being that you love and to see a human being whose choices make you proud. And if everybody else has a problem with that, they need to deal with that with their therapist. And the more that you do this, the more you'll be able to express boundaries and the more you'll be able to make requests. And the stronger that you get, knowing that you have your own back and you're really confident in who you are, the more that your marriage will change because you're changing. And it's my hope that it changes for the better. But the fact of the matter is, as long as you are taking responsibility for your own happiness and your own sense of worth and your own sense of value as a human being, if that doesn't improve the relationship that you're in to show up as a better you're not in the right relationship.
I totally agree.
The bottom line is that so in 1990, I was a senior in college at Dartmouth, and my parents came to visit from Western Michigan, and we went to this place called Simon Pierce, which is a famous glass blowing mill. And as we walked into the restaurant, I had an experience that you may be able to relate to, and that is I walked in and I immediately saw this painting hanging on the wall. And it was about the size of a door, only horizontal. And it was a Vermont landscape. And I was drawn into it immediately. Like I was no longer in that restaurant. I was standing in that field. I could feel that breeze. I'd never, ever had an experience like that with a painting. Have you ever had an experience like that with art?
No, I mean, not like that. Not like that. I mean, my sense was that this is very atypical for you.
Very. So I kind of lost it. The restaurant was quiet. And then I leaned back. I'm suddenly kind of back in the moment. I'm like, I'm going to own this painting someday. that was what was right there. And I looked at the price and it said like $3,000. I'm like, not today. And I went back and I sat down and that was it. But the painting never left my mind. You see, there's something called the Zeigarnik effect. I always say it wrong, but it's like there's a checklist in your brain that when you have a moment where you're like, this is important, your brain puts it on a checklist.
Yeah, there's like a notch.
Yes, a notch happens. And now your brain, as part of the filter in the brain, is always going to be kind of scanning the subconscious to let anything into your mind related to that incident. It can be positive, by the way, like with the painting, or this is how trauma happens too. Like you have this high intensity emotional experience that notches something in your brain, and now your brain kicks in to remember. So bottom line is, I always thought about that painting. Years go by. Whenever somebody would say Vermont, I'd think of the painting. I don't know why. I can't explain it. Never wanted a painting before. Was not an art student. It's going to law school.
It's not like you're out collecting art.
No.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I, fast forward the story 10 years, and my Chris and I are engaged, and we're going to go up to Vermont to see the leaves. And immediately I'm like, we got to go to Simon Pierce. I got to show you the painting. So we pull up to the mill and we walk in, and right in front there is, boom, a painting by the same artist, Gail Shepard. And I'm like, oh my God, it's here. And we race all around the place and it's gone. And the funny thing was, and this is the way your brain works, Chris was more disappointed than I was. I literally turned to him and said, it's okay, dude. Like, it'd be weird if it were still here after 10 years. I'm going to track this thing down. I actually said to him, you know what's going to happen, Chris? I'm going to be able to buy this like 40 years from now. It's going to be hanging in the corporate lobby of some building, and I'm going to have to track down the owner and pay like quadruple the money they pay. But I'm going to own this damn thing.
Now,
I have a mission, yes. So a couple years pass, and it's my birthday. I think I was turning 30, and Chris says, Chris gets a couple people to give money. And he said I could buy anything I wanted with it. So I had what, $500? Now, I'm pregnant at the time with our first kid. I should have bought a crib or stools, but for whatever reason, the Zeigarnik effect takes over, and I'm like, the painting. So I call the mill, and I get this guy on the phone. I'm like, I want to buy a Gail Shepard piece. And I said, could you send me Polaroids? And he's like, sure. And I tell him the budget, and he goes, I'll send you Polaroids of some of her smaller things. And
she's like blowing up in the meantime, right?
Yeah, she's a very, very successful Vermont landscape artist. And so I say to him, by the way, there's this one painting. And I describe the painting I had seen over 10 years ago. And he said, well, that was way before my time, but I bet Gail will know. And I'm like, Gail? You know Gail? He's like, of course I know Gail. She like lives in down the road. Here's her number. So for 2 days, I paced around the apartment with $500 in my pocket, driving Chris crazy. Because I felt like, what am I going to say to her? And I must be a weirdo. I've been stalking this lady. I've been thinking about her for 10 years. I can't afford a painting. Who am I to buy a painting? Like, what the hell? So finally, Chris is like, would you call her? I'm going to call her. You're driving me crazy. So I call her, and I start talking a mile a minute, and she was amazing. And then I said, by the way, there was this one painting. And I go and I explain this painting. There's a stand of poplar trees down the center and a big mountainscape behind it, and this beautiful blue Vermont sky and geese flying in formation overhead. And I could hear her thinking on the other end of the line. And she said, Mel, I've done so many large-scale paintings over the years. I'd hate to mistake the one you're talking about. But I'll tell you what. What if my husband and I meet you and Chris at the mill at Simon Pierce? And we'll walk all around and have lunch, and I'll tell you the stories behind every painting. And if you don't see what you like there, I'll take you back to my studio, which is a couple miles down the river. And you can look at everything I'm working on. And if you don't see anything you like there, then you can go through all my slides and see if you can find that painting that you saw 10 years ago. And I said, deal. So a month passes. We go up to the mill. I walk in. We meet each other. She's amazing. She's like twice our age, just an incredibly cool lady. She's walking around. As we're walking around looking at these paintings, Rich, I'm like 8 months pregnant. I'm realizing these are 10 times the amount of money that I have. I can't afford this. Like, I don't have this kind of money. And I'm getting like more and more into that imposter syndrome. What am I doing mode? Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. I'm meeting somebody I idolize. I don't deserve to be here.
Right. Wasting her time because she
Yes.
thinks she's going to get a payday out of this.
Correct. We sit down and she goes, now that you're sitting down, I have something to tell you. She said, there's only been 2 times in my career as an artist that I've done 2 studies of the same piece. And your painting is one of them. It's one of a pair.
She knew all along.
She knew all along.
She was playing games with you about not knowing which painting.
Yeah. And she said, the sister piece to the one that you saw all those years ago is sitting in my studio right now, where it's been for the past 11 years. I start sobbing. Everybody's like totally emotional. Her husband's like, you should have seen her when she was on the phone with you. It was like she saw a ghost. So we get in the car and we drive to the mill. And when we walk in, there in the center of this massive kind of barn studio space is an easel with a painting taped up with painter's tape on it. And it was the sister to my painting. There were slight differences, not as much movement in the grass, but it was one of the most extraordinary experiences of my life. It was as if time suspended and I was standing before that painting in 1990 saying it would be mine. And there I was 11 years later standing in front of it. And then I realized, oh my God, I can't afford this. And Chris walks over and he's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, just promise me someday, like promise me that I don't need a jewelry. I don't need a car. Like, just promise me you will buy me this thing. And he kind of leans over and goes, hey, Gail, how much for the big one? And she said, Mel can have it for $500 because clearly when I was making it 11 years ago, I was making it for her. Yeah. And so it hangs in my kitchen. It's on the back of the book.
This is the galley, though, right?
Yeah.
So wait, is it in the? Is it in
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a reminder every day that your mind is designed to help you get what you want. I never stopped believing that I could make it happen. And when you tell your mind what's important to you, there is extraordinary science that proves that your mind has a live and ever-changing filter, a live network that changes how it views the world, what it lets in, what it blocks out. And if you program your mind correctly, and if you're clear about what you want to create, your mind will help you get what you want.
I want to play another question that was submitted from a woman named Megan so that I can start to show you that you're not the only one whose self-doubt is the problem.
My name is Megan, and I'm from Tampa, Florida. Long story short, I've always wanted to move out of my hometown. And ever since I graduated college, I've tried to find an excuse to move. I'm in my 3rd job in my career, love it. But I'm just like, I'd never pursued that moving out of my hometown. And there's always been this itch. And I'm 32, I'm single, I have no kids, and I'm like, my lease is about to end. So I'm like, is now the time? But all those fears just keep popping in, which are a lot of, limiting beliefs that I have. So my parents always kind of told me, you need money to move. If you don't have a bunch of money saved, then you shouldn't be going anywhere. They never moved out of Tampa. So they were like, your family's here. Why would you want to leave your family? And kind of like guilt tripped me a little bit. So I kind of shut down the conversation, and I basically just don't know what to do. And I feel stuck, but I feel like I need to do it. But I don't have a reason to, other than I want to. So how do I get past feeling stuck and too afraid? And I feel like I'm just always looking for excuses of why I shouldn't. My biggest fear is just getting there and then being like, why did I do this? I'm alone. I have no family or friends here. Who knows when my family or friends are going to visit me, even if they will, is this going to cost me a lot of money? And now I put myself in like a bad financial situation. What if I lose my job and I'm in a new city? What if I hate it? So Mel, how do I get started? What is the first step I should take? And what is the right way of going about doing this?
Oh my God. First of all, can we just agree? We love Megan. Don't you just love how honest she is? How she's just laying it all out there. And you know what else I love about her? She is every single one of us. Because once you lock on to something that you, quote, have an itch, and by the way, that's the only reason you need. If you want to do something, if you have a desire to do it, if you have that itch, that pull, that's your reason. You don't need any other justification other than you get to want things. You get to try things. And so I just love her because in sharing so much about how she's struggling internally, and you can hear that, can't you? You can hear how much she wants to do this. And yet, there is that conflict inside of her. And so I want to unpack this layer by layer for you, because here's the thing. It's very easy for me on the outside to put my hands on my hip and to look at Megan with a big smile and say, honey, you are not getting any older. Get your ass out of Tampa and move. What if it all works out? Stop worrying about it. And by the way, Tampa's waiting for you in case you hate it. So you can reverse the decision. But you got to start taking some risks. Like, I could tell her this all day long, but what really moves the needle in your life is when you can coach yourself. When you can shut down the conversation inside your own mind. Because the only thing that is holding Megan back from pursuing something she's been thinking about for years is the conversation she's having with herself. And so how do you shut down the conversation? The answer, believe it or not, is manifesting. Wait, what? Mel? Hold on a second. Mel Robbins, did you just say all I have to do is manifest? If I think about moving, magically it'll happen? No, that's not what I said. You see, you don't understand what manifesting is. Nobody does. I didn't for decades. Manifesting is not just imagining something or wishing or wanting something to happen. That's what Megan's been doing. She's been thinking about it. She's been wishing it would happen. She's been wanting it to happen. Has that made her move? No. That's not manifesting, everybody. Manifesting is intentionally training your brain and your nervous system to believe in something that hasn't happened yet. That's what manifesting is. Manifesting is a power tool. It's backed by neuroscience. It is backed by years of research. And when used properly, it helps you achieve your goals because it helps you prepare to do the work. I use science-backed manifesting tools every single day to shut down the negative conversations in my life and to live a big life and to take big risks. And dude, Olympic athletes use manifesting. And we're going to get into how Olympic athletes and the world's leading, business leaders and successful people everywhere use it. But I'm telling you right now, the way you shut down your internal conversation that is holding you back is manifesting. And I'm not only going to give you the definition of what manifesting is and what it isn't, but I'm going to walk you through 4 steps backed by neuroscience on how you're going to use manifesting properly as a brain reprogramming tool. That's what we're going to do here today. And I'm also, as I walk you through these steps, you're going to learn the 4 mistakes that absolutely everybody makes when it comes to the how and when it comes to trying to manifest. Jessica, I'm sure, is making this mistake. Megan makes this mistake. I've been making this mistake for years until I understood the science. And so, as I do this, I want to turn the spotlight on you for a second because I'm going to continue talking about Megan. And I'm going to learn a lot about manifesting and how to use science to rewire your mind. But what is something that you feel the itch to do? that you've been thinking about, that you're the one shutting down. Here's a way that you could really get honest with yourself. Let's just say that Mel Robbins was going to take a sabbatical from hosting the Mel Robbins podcast. And let's say I was going to move into your house. And you and I were going to be surgically joined at the hip for a year. And you were going to have to deal with me being by your side and in your ear day by day. I'd be there as you woke up. I'd be there as you go to sleep. I can sense that itch because I'm connected to your hip. What is it knowing that I would be in your life, annoying as hell, pushing you through your fears? What would you take on that you're not taking on right now? What dream would you pursue? If I'm your big O-line, you know, your offensive lineman in football, I'm the one that's going to block and tackle for you. I'm the one that's going to clear the path. I'll handle your frickin' parents. I'm going to find the apartment. I'll push you out of your comfort zone. We got this because I'm going to be by your side. What is that thing? That itch, that dream? Because I want you to be selfish as you listen to this. And so hold on to that as I describe how manifesting is one of the first things you have to learn how to do to get started on making this a reality. So what is manifesting? Manifesting is mentally training for getting what you want. That's all that it is. It is part of the toolkit that successful people around the world use. Let me tell you what manifesting is not. Manifesting is not thinking thoughts and then hoping they come true. That is what people do on their 7th birthday. And they blow out the candles. That is not what we are doing here. Manifesting is based in neuroscience. It is a tool that you are going to use precisely, intentionally, systematically, with purpose. Because you use manifesting to rewire your mind and your body and your spirit to help you do the work to achieve your dreams. When you use manifesting properly, you are removing the mental obstacles of self-doubt, resistance, fear, perfectionism, feeling overwhelmed, other people's expectations, all that stuff that is holding you in place right now, that makes you spin in circles. Manifesting clears that shit out, and it programs, using science, a completely different way of thinking and feeling about the things that you want to create in your life. And when you manifest properly, it's almost like the pregame training that you do before the big game. It prepares you to take action. It boosts your confidence. It gets you ready to do that thing. So you and I are going to walk step by step through how to do this, but I just want you for this moment, I want you to embrace the definition that this is not wishing. This is not the law of attraction. This is based in science and neuroscience. This is about reprogramming your mind instead of letting your fears run your life. I know what you're thinking. Okay, Mel, what the hell does that mean? Don't you worry. We're going to go step by step through this, and I'm going to keep on teeing up the mistakes that you're making because everybody makes the same mistakes. I made the same mistakes too. And I'm going to show you the 4 things you need to do instead so you can leverage the science to create the life that you want. So step 1 of manifesting properly according to research and science. First, you have to tell the truth. You have to declare what you want, period. This does not work if you're lying to yourself. This does not work if you're fuzzy about what you want. And so Megan already did step 1. She said, I want to move. She even told us that she'd been wanting to do this for a while. And the only thing that's been holding her back is all that negative programming in her mind. So now let's turn to you. Tell me the truth. What's something that you want? And don't be scared to say it out loud. Don't worry, I'm not moving in with you. But you have to tell the truth. That thing that you have an itch to do. That's what I'm talking about. And if you are so shut down that you don't even know what you would want to manifest, let's do the exercise that I have shared multiple times on the Mel Robbins podcast. Every single morning as part of your morning routine, I want you to just take out a piece of paper and write down 5 things that you want. And every morning as you do this, as you give yourself permission to want things, you're training your mind. You're getting in touch with your dreams and your goals. And if you're having trouble connecting with this, I have a free cheat sheet for you. Just go to melrobbins.com/dreambig. I walk you through it. You can download it for free. And you can also listen to the episode we just did on dreams. It's the one we released right before this one. But you have to be honest. You want to know why? Because you're training your brain, and your brain knows when you're bullshitting, especially when you're bullshitting yourself. You cannot half-ass this stuff. Just listen to this question from Rochelle.
My name is Rochelle. I am from Ontario, Canada, a small town north of Toronto. So for 25 years, I've had a head full of ideas. I've had half-assed projects and lots of plans. I chose always wishing over doing. Many of my blocks were due to fear, many just basic survival. The idea of goal setting, it really fires me up. The idea of remembering to revisit those goals, that freaks me out. I just think of all the things that I should have done and want to do still, that I've thought about over the last 25 years. What do you have a vision board for? That seems like, what are you, a child?
I love you guys so much. What do you have a vision board for? What are you, a child? Rochelle, okay. So first of all, we love Rochelle. We love everybody. And what I love about her is she's admitting to you that she's been thinking about things that she's wanted for 25 years. And she's never getting past the thinking part. Why? Well, because again, the overwhelm, the self-doubt, all of the disorganization, it's stopping her. That's where manifesting comes in. And she asked the question, vision boards, what the hell, am I a child? Let me tell you why vision boards can be important with one huge caveat based on science. Vision boards are important because when you take the time to create a vision board, which is basically bringing your dream or your goal to life by creating a collage of images, what you're doing is you are grabbing that dream or that goal that typically we bounce around in the back of our minds in private. You're pulling it out of your mind and you're grounding it in reality. And one of the reasons why this can be so powerful is because it signals to your brain that this is really important to you. We've talked in previous episodes about the Zeigarnik effect. It creates this kind of to-do list in your mind. The other reason why it's important is because when you put a vision board in a place where you can see it, it keeps these goals and dreams front and center, which is really important. But here's the problem. Everybody puts the wrong shit on their vision boards. You've been sold a bill of goods. You have been told that if you simply create a collage of some beach house or your dream body or $1 million in the bank or a Maserati, that suddenly the universe is going to hand you those things. That's not how that works. What research shows is exactly what Rochelle is talking about. If all you ever do is think about the big thing, you think about the end goal, the beach house, the Maserati, the thing that's like 10 years from now, and then you create this beautiful collage of this amazing thing that you want, that's a huge mistake. And see, everybody makes this mistake. If you look at anybody's vision board, you know what's on it? It's beach houses and $1 million and a Maserati and the finishing line at the New York City Marathon and all the things that you hope and dream for. And the reason why that's a huge mistake is that if the only thing that is on your vision board is the thing that's going to take you 10 years to get done, as you sit here in your studio apartment or in the spare bedroom of your parents' house at a desk in the corner and you stare at a $10 million beach house, oh my God, that is going to feel so far away. It's going to feel like you might as well move to Mars, for crying out loud. Instead of that vision board keeping your dreams front and center, that vision board is rubbing them in your face. It's not motivating at all. Why? Because you start to become present day in and day out to how far away you are from that dream of yours. And that starts to make you feel less motivated. It doesn't surprise me at all that Rochelle has been thinking about all kinds of things for 25 years, and yet she can't get started. And the reason why is because she is making the mistake of visualizing the end. Manifesting is not just hoping and wishing, remember, for that beach house? Manifesting is training your mind, body, and spirit to do the work to make that beach house a reality. And step 2 to manifesting according to neuroscience. Visualize the steps along the way. This is research from UCLA. In order to make manifesting work for you according to science, don't visualize the end. Visualize the steps and the actions that you're going to take to get there. So what does that mean? That means all that hard and annoying and tedious stuff that you got to do that you don't feel like doing in order to make that thing a reality, that's what you're going to put on the vision board. That's what you're going to visualize. You see, according to the research from UCLA, brain scans show that when you visualize yourself performing an action, you stimulate the same brain region that you're using when you actually perform that action. So manifesting properly, according to science, means you are socializing your mind to take action. Now, what does socializing your mind mean? Because that's the language they used in the study. It means you're training your mind to take the action. By sitting there and mentally rehearsing this, you are telling your mind, you're stimulating the part of the brain that actually is going to take the action. This taps into something called procedural memory, and it helps you lock in the actions you need to take as a new habit. See, procedural memory is part of your long-term memory. It's like writing with your hands or pouring a glass of water. All those actions and habits, they're all stored in your procedural memory. Your procedural memory has all the information that you need in order to perform things like brushing your teeth or walking and talking. And when those things get rehearsed over and over and over again, guess what? They become encoded. They become automatic. The more you think about the steps you need to take and you start to visualize them, the stronger the connections become. And this isn't just like common sense. What happens when you visualize this way is that connections are being made between gaps in neurons. They're passing signals back and forth. And so before you even take the actions, you are now socializing your brain to get ready to do it. You're preparing. It's super cool. So let's just start with step 1, manifesting according to science. You got to claim what you want and tell the truth. So let's say that step 1, I want to train for and I want to complete the New York City Marathon. That is a bucket list item for me. And in fact, that was a bucket list item for me, and it's something that I've done, and you should do it too. It's amazing. And so, yes, you're going to wake up every day and you're going to write that dream down. But to achieve it, please do not spend any time visualizing crossing the finish line. Please do not spend any time thinking about the roaring applause of the crowd as your name gets announced. Instead, what are you going to do? You're going to use science because you're smart. You're going to visualize yourself lacing up your running shoes when it's 10 degrees outside. You're going to close your eyes and you're going to picture what it feels like to be out there on a training run alone. It's mile 13. You're on your own and your freaking earbuds just ran out of batteries and you're 6 miles from your house. And as you close your eyes and you picture that annoying and irritating moment, I want you to feel in your body the sensation of that moment. And I want you to feel in your body another one. How about this moment? It's 5 a.m. Your alarm goes off. You're exhausted. You look out the window and you see it's pouring rain and it's a Saturday and you said you do a training run. And I want you to see yourself dragging yourself out of bed, pulling on your jacket even though you don't feel like it, and walking out that door. And I want you to feel yourself starting to run in the rain, and it's 5:10 in the morning. That's how you manifest. Because here's the thing. That's what you're going to have to do in order to achieve your goal. And more importantly, 5 months from now, when you've registered for that race and that alarm goes off at 5 a.m. and you roll over in real life and you look out the window and it's pouring, you will have rehearsed this moment. So your brain and your nervous system and your body is going to be ready for it. You're going to roll out of bed because you've already been in this moment. You already have seen yourself there. You've already felt the resistance. You not only know exactly how this goes, you've rehearsed it in your mind, and you've now rewired your brain to be ready for it. That's why you can't half-ass this. You got to be dead serious about visualizing the steps you need to take. And so now that you got step 1, which is tell the truth about what you want, get very clear about it. Step 2 is stop focusing on the end and start focusing on the irritating crap you're going to have to do day in, day out to march toward it. Now we're going to go from the kindergarten manifesting according to neuroscience to Olympic level manifesting. Are you ready? I'm ready. Because step 3, to properly manifest according to science, you got to feel that stuff in your body. I mean, really feel it. You got to feel what it's like to work for that dream. Now, this isn't just Mel Robbins, and this is not even neuroscientists anymore. We're now bringing in the Olympic athletes and all of their team of psychologists because they take manifesting to an even deeper level. When you're on the Olympic team, you call this imagery because it goes way beyond sort of the visualization. An Olympic aerial skier said, you have to smell it, you have to hear it, you have to feel it, you have to feel everything. And so that means as you are closing your eyes and as you are visualizing yourself doing the work, and for an Olympic skier, that means before you even get on that slope, you are imagining every twist, every turn, every bump, every jump. You are going over and over and over and over again, every twist and every turn. Because remember, according to the research at UCLA, your brain doesn't know the difference between something that happened to you for real and the things that you imagine happening to you. So you're warming yourself up to exactly what you'll feel as you're taking action. There's a huge article about this in the New York Times, and in it, bobsledder Lyndon Rush, who's an Olympic medalist, said, I've tried to keep the track in my mind throughout the year, he said. I'll be in the shower or brushing my teeth. It just takes a minute. So I do the whole track, or sometimes just the corners that are more technical. You try to keep it fresh in your head, so when you do get there, you're not just starting at square one, and it's amazing how much you can do in your own mind. And in fact, one of the things that psychologists use this for with our Olympic team is helping athletes deal with the anxiety and resistance that comes up when they're about to go back into racing after an injury. And so this sort of imagery, this deep manifesting where you feel it. So what does that mean? You got to smell the air. You got to feel the wind. You got to really put yourself at the scene. You know, when I was a young trial lawyer, I used to work for the Legal Aid Society as a criminal defense attorney. And when I was being trained to do trial work, they used to say, when you're talking to a jury, you have to put people at the scene. You've got to describe something in a way that they could almost see, taste, or smell it. And that's what you need to do. And so here's what I want to do. I want to do this with you right now. And so we're going to use our friend Megan. Remember, she's the one that wants to move from Tampa. And I want to play a part of her clip where she talks about her fears. And as you're listening to our friend Megan, I want you to see what sensations come up in your body as you are listening to her describe all the resistance and fears that she has about this thing that she wants to do.
My biggest fear is just getting there and then being like, why did I do this? I'm alone. I have no family or friends here. Who knows when my family or friends are going to visit me, even if they will. Is this going to cost me a lot of money? And now I put myself in like a bad financial situation. What if I lose my job and I'm in a new city? What if I hate it?
You want to know what Megan's doing? She's manifesting. She is letting her fears rehearse the worst case scenario. She has trained her brain and her nervous system to be terrified of this move. She has a visualization, all right, that it's not going to work, that her parents are going to be mad, that it's a huge mistake, that she's going to lose her job, that no wonder she's not doing it. She's using manifesting in the exact opposite way. She is systematically, through her excuses and her fears and her parents' stuff, she is training her own mind to work against her. I'm afraid of this. I'm afraid of that. It's going to be like this. It's going to be like that. You could feel, couldn't you? When she said, what if I get there and I'm alone? What if I get there and it's the worst decision? I bet you felt your chest seize a little bit. When she said, what if I regret it? I bet you felt yourself shrink a little bit. See, her excuses have trained her mind and body to resist taking the action. You do the same thing. Every time you look at the thing that you want, that itch that you have, the dream that you have, the goal that you have, and you're like, but this, but that, but what about the other person? But you're visualizing all the negative. And this is why you're stopped. And so instead of mentally rehearsing your deepest fears, let's just flip this. Try visualizing it being great. I mean, instead of going, what if it doesn't work? What if it all works out? What if this is the best decision I've ever made in my entire life? Visualize saying goodbye to your parents and packing the U-Haul. Visualize yourself alone in the apartment. Go to that really scary moment where you're there alone and you feel yourself getting anxious. But then visualize yourself putting your shoes on, leaving the house, going to that event you signed up, even though you didn't feel like it, and bumping into somebody and making a new friend. Visualize your mom calling and saying, I miss you. I wish you have it. And as you look out at the mountains or the oceans or this whole new city that you live in, feel the pride inside yourself that you took the risk and that you're going to see her next month when you go home. And in a weird way, visualize and feel how this distance and you growing up has made your relationship stronger. Visualize that moment where you lose your job and going, but that's okay. I didn't like that job anyway. And I've met so many people here that now I'm networking and I've just landed something new. Visualize yourself winning. So I think you're getting this. I know you're getting this. Let me just recap because you know nobody gets left behind on the Mel Robbins podcast. Step 1, tell the truth. Your brain knows BS and we need the truth from you. What do you actually want? Step 2, you're going to use neuroscience, which means you're going to visualize and feel in your body all the little things you have to do, the annoying, the irritating. I want you to see it, to smell it. I want you to see yourself falling down or being scared and then picking yourself back up. And feel the pride. Push through the resistance. There you are doing it. Rehearse it in your mind over and over and over. And what you're really doing is you are decoding all the resistance that your fears put in. And you are encoding and rewiring a whole new track, a tape in your mind that shows you doing the work and making it happen. And this is what Olympic athletes do. This is what Mel Robbins does. This is what successful people in business do. And this is what you're going to be doing now. And so now I want to teach you something else, because I think what's going to happen is that you're going to get all excited and you're going to identify and tell the truth about what you want. And you're going to sit down and you're going to go to start visualizing the steps. And then something interesting is going to happen. You might find that something weird happens, because this is what happened to Mara, and it's extremely common. So listen to this question.
Hey, Mel. My name's Mara. I'm from Chicago, Illinois. I have a question for you. I was just curious, how does one tackle overcoming imposter syndrome while manifesting? So how can I take the steps to work on a business that I'm passionate about, interior design with absolutely no experience other than my own home, and planning my own parties and gifting during the seasons and birthdays? When I see these types of businesses online, they really, really inspire me to create. But the thought of me doing it myself is so scary.
Okay, I love this question. This is so juicy and great. And I just am so happy, Mara, that you asked this. So first of all, let's just stop saying imposter syndrome, okay, everybody? Because when you're new to something, you're a student. That's it. You're a beginner. That's it. You're not an imposter. You're not faking anything. You're actually figuring it out. It's part of the process. And so stop saying you have imposter syndrome, because all you do is you have a dream and you're going to begin to chip away at it. That's what we're doing here. So that's number one. Number two, this is really common. And the reason why it's really common is because your fear is so big and your self-doubt is so big and you've never done this thing before. And you can tell based on the fact that, Mara was kind of laughing. She's like, oh my God, I kind of love this thing. And so she's diminishing how big of a dream this is. And a lot of us do that. We kind of make a little bit of a joke or downplay it a little bit, or we're nervous about it. We kind of don't even admit it. So first of all, I'm proud of you for admitting it, Maura. That's step one, you told the truth. Step two, the things you need to do, you can figure out because you're a student, you're a beginner, you love this, you're smart, and there's Google, and there's YouTube, and that's going to give you the steps. And those are the things that you need to visualize. So when you sit down and you start to visualize and mentally rehearse, remember, you're an Olympic athlete, you're a winner. We're using neuroscience here. We're going to decode all those fears and all those bullshit excuses, and we're going to re-encode some confidence, and we're going to see you doing it. You might experience not being able to picture yourself in the visualization. This is super common. So here's what you're going to use. You're going to use the power of objectivity. That's it. What does that mean? That means if you can't picture yourself doing the work, pick somebody that you admire who you could visualize doing the work. And there's a catch here. So for example, you could pick me. You could pick an interior designer that you absolutely love. There's so many of them online that you could pick from, that you can follow on Instagram, and you can imagine them in there taking the certifications, asking their friends if they could stage their apartment for an Instagram photo shoot, networking with realtors, trying to get a job in a design firm, or heck, in an amazing furniture retail location. So you start to kind of build up the acumen. There's all kinds of things you can do. If you can't picture yourself doing those small steps, put in me or somebody that you deeply admire who's already in the interior design business. Your mind will allow you, through the power of objectivity, to imagine someone else. Now, here's the catch. Here's the catch, because remember, I'm the O-line. I'm your offensive lineman. I'm clearing the path, so I'm not doing this on my own. I'm doing this, and I'm in your visualization so you can score with the ball. So at some point in that visualization, let's just say you get a job at one of your favorite retail stores that sells furniture and is in the design business. And let's just say you put me in there and I'm the one that's managing the store. At some point in that visualization, I want you to visualize me turning around and extending my hand and saying, "Come on, Maura, it's your turn. Come here and help me." And let me invite you to join my side in your visualization. Visualize us doing the work together. It's a super awesome hack. And using the power of objectivity, we can work around that blind spot in your brain until you're ready to fire Mel Robbins from that job. And now you can start visualizing yourself doing all the steps you're scared to take now. Super cool. Now let's get to step 4, because this is probably the most important part of manifesting according to neuroscience. And I think absolutely everybody forgets to tell you this part. Let's play Cynthia's question.
Hi, my name is Cynthia. I'm from Temecula, California. My question was to Mel, how do you go about manifesting without feeling like a sense of selfishness? I was raised in a very strict Catholic household. And when you asked for things, it was kind of like you had to do something in return. So I feel like when I'm asking the universe or God, whatever you believe in, for my things that I'm manifesting, I feel like I owe somebody something or something's going to get taken away. So it makes me a little nervous to ask or manifest.
Cynthia, I got to tell you, you're right. You're right. When you manifest, it's not selfish at all, by the way. It's an act of self-love when you train your mind to help you get what you want. But when you manifest, you are going to owe somebody something. And you know what you owe them? Fucking work. That's right. You have to do the thing you're visualizing. When you sit there and you intentionally, mentally rehearse the steps you need to take, there is something that you owe the universe and you owe yourself, and that is to take the action. You're not just going to sit there and train. At some point, that Olympic athlete has to do the race. At some point, you've got to make the cold call. At some point, you got to quit the job or pack the U-Haul trailer or get off your ass and do the training run at 5 a.m. So you better believe there is going to be something that is asked of you in return. And that's where the magic comes in. Because the magic is in your actions, and manifesting according to neuroscience just gets your own fears and people's judgments and your childhood wiring out of the way so that you can take those actions. True science-backed manifestation. It's not as sexy as The Secret makes it seem, and it's actually not as complicated as a huge PhD study makes it seem. You just have to do it. That's it. You have to take the actions. You do owe the universe and yourself something. You owe yourself the actions, the effort, the work that's required. That's what your dreams demand. I talk about this all the time. You know, we all want to believe that somehow you're going to close your eyes and imagine what you want and it's going to magically happen. I'm sorry, that may happen on TikTok or in Disney, but that is not how the real world works. The way that you are going to make something a reality is you are going to declare that you want it, and then you are going to tediously, annoyingly, wake up every single day and push yourself to lay one brick in a path with one action every day. It's not going to be easy, but day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year, action by action, as you visualize yourself taking the steps, and then you actually push yourself to do the steps, you will wake up and realize you have paved a brick path to your dreams. And you are now, 10 years later, 5 years later, sitting on the porch of your ocean house. You are crossing the finish line of the New York City Marathon. You are making the final turn in that giant slalom race. That is how this works. So you do owe something. You got to put your skin in the game and your ass on the line. And you do that by waking up every day and taking one of those small steps forward that you visualized and practiced and rehearsed by manifesting properly according to neuroscience. Now let me say the final mistake. You ready for the final mistake? This is mistake number 4. You get impatient. I cannot tell you how many people literally give up on their dreams and they are one audition away from making it. Or how many people stop working on their business and they were 1 hour away from the breakthrough that they needed in the financial model. Or you give up on that novel or cookbook you wanted to write because you got frustrated by the creative process. You make the mistake of thinking just because this is getting hard or it's boring or it's tedious, it's not working. Here's the thing I need you to understand. When it comes to achieving your goals and your dreams, there is no timeline involved. You have to give up the when, and you got to stay focused on the why and the how. And you now know the how. The how is using neuroscience to remove the resistance in your mind and your nervous system and your body, and then pushing yourself to do the work, because manifesting is not magically making something appear. Manifesting is preparing your mind, body, and spirit to do the work to make it a reality. Overnight success does not exist, period. Yes, there are a lot of people that are gotten lucky. Yes, privilege is real. Bias is a fact. And it is really easy to get jealous. But what you aren't seeing when you focus on the end result is the years and years and years that went into this moment. Like, a lot of people are looking at me right now and they're like, holy cow, this is one of the most successful podcast launches in history. How the hell did that happen overnight? It didn't. This has been in the works for 10 years. I have been chipping away at it, doing the work behind the scenes before I even launched this thing. You have to ask yourself, I think, when it comes to the big stuff, are you willing to work 10 years for it? Are you willing to work 10 years for that beach house? Are you willing to work 10 years for that $1 million in the bank? Are you willing to work 10 years to get that PhD, to heal your trauma, to be happy? Because that's how long it might take. And if we're being really honest here, if it's a really big thing, it could take even longer, and that's okay. Because you know what? There's nothing more fulfilling in life than chipping away at your dreams and your goals. That's what gives your life meaning. Achieving your goals doesn't give your life meaning. Working on them, working towards something bigger than where you're at right now, that is where the real secret sauce is. Like if you want to be successful in business, you got to get ready to make 100 hours of cold calls about your product or about the thing you're selling before you get one person that doesn't hang up on you. I'm not even talking about a yes. And that's where visualization comes in. You got to visualize the no's. If you want to be a writer, how about getting ready to write for 5 years? 5 years of drafts. 5 years of what Anne Lamott calls your shitty first draft. Days and days and days of sitting down every single day, because this is what a writer does. They sit down and they write no matter what. Days where you sit there and you stare at a blank piece of paper. Visualize that. And visualize yourself keep going. Visualize publishers saying no and no and no. And then finally, somebody says yes, or you self-publish. See, the time and the effort that you have to put in, it's not glamorous, everybody. It's not easy. And there are going to be times that you're going to feel like giving up. And this is what separates the people who achieve their goals from the people who don't, in my opinion. It's this quitting day. It's this moment where you throw in the towel. If you can go one more day, you can make it happen. Because then you can go another. See, the benefit of waking up every day and using manifesting, according to neuroscience, to visualize yourself continuing to go forward, is that when the going gets tough, you will have trained your brain and your nervous system that you're the kind of person that keeps going. And when your body and your brain knows that about you, when the going gets tough, you will keep going. So please, once you're honest with yourself about what you want, put in the time. Bring a lot of patience. And I promise, if you're willing to put in the work and the effort and you're willing to continue to train your mind to believe that, yes, in fact, you are going to cross that finish line. You are going to have that $1 million in the bank. You are going to have the happiness and the love and the health that you deserve. You're going to have the family you've always dreamt of. You will eventually make it happen. I believe that. Honestly, I just love this shit because manifesting according to neuroscience is one of my superpowers. If I'm not talking, I'm probably manifesting something that I want. I currently do not have a beach house. And let me tell you, I have 2 or 3 particular homes in mind that are currently occupied. I have all kinds of manifesting according to neuroscience going on. I'm in no hurry. I know this takes time. I keep seeing myself chipping away at it. I see the letter I'm going to write and I'm going to stick it in the note box. I see myself working to make the money. I also have done this with this podcast, you guys. This was 2 years in the making before we recorded our first episode. You know what I was doing? I was busy manifesting all the hard and tedious stuff that would lead me here and actually doing it. Another thing I'm manifesting, we are getting this incredible studio space in Boston. And so I keep having these visions of making the drive down from Southern Vermont. I have this vision of one of our team members, Charlotte, standing out front of the building with a clipboard. And she has this little, like, kind of one of those headset walkie-talkie things on. And she's greeting this SUV that comes up. I am upstairs having stress diarrhea because the Dalai Lama is stepping out of the SUV and is coming up to be on the Mel Robbins podcast. And I am managing through my stomach ache as Charlotte is walking the Dalai Lama through our lobby and up the elevator to our brand new, insanely cool. This is what I do, everybody, because it's a superpower. I am training my mind to help me make my big dreams and visions a reality. I'm even doing this for our daughters. I'm manifesting what it looks like for our daughter to, I want her to do it next fall. I'm visualizing her halfway around the world and working her way around the world. I'm visualizing our other daughter spending late nights in a session, writing her music. I can feel what it's going to feel like when she calls crying and saying that something happened. And so I'm doing this for me. I do it for you. I do it for the people that I love. This stuff is awesome because in some way, when you really get good at this, it is true what the research at UCLA says. You do trick your own brain. When we started this podcast, finally, after years of thinking about it and 2 years of properly manifesting according to neuroscience, I was so rehearsed. I had a Madgeread, or whatever the hell the word is that the Olympians used, that when I stepped in to record our first episode, it felt like I had been doing this for 10 years. Because in my mind, I've been preparing that long. That's how cool this is. The hardest part for everybody is to start. And the reason why is not only the patterns of procrastination and anxiety and stuff that you get trapped in, but it's also because your goals feel so far away that you don't believe that just starting is going to even chip away at it. And so, number one, because it sounds like I just contradicted myself. Yes, you need to have something like a beach house or the NASDAQ bell or the business you're starting or the love affair of your life or the family you've always envisioned or the health that you've always dreamt about. Absolutely. Swing for the fences. What do you want it to look like 10 years from now? But when it comes to manifesting based on science, I want you to think as manifesting as a bridge. Manifesting is a bridge that's made of bricks between you and the thing that you dream about. And what you do when you manifest is you don't manifest where the bridge is going. You manifest the bricks. So a great example is a marathon. So let's say that you've never run a day in your life, but your bucket list is to complete the London Marathon. Yes, you can put on your vision board a photograph of a runner crossing the London Marathon. You can even put the dream that you have in terms of the number that you want the time to be, okay? But you better put a runner in the rain up there. You better put an alarm clock that says 4:30 in the morning because that's what time you're going to have to get up in order to get your training runs in. You better put a runner that's gripping their leg like this when they get a muscle cramp. You better put up, a vision of you at mile 13 and your earbuds run out and you still got 2 more miles to go. Visualization is the bricks. And so what I want you to do when you visualize is instead of visualizing, the marathon, I did it, oh, it's amazing. And then you open up, you're like, okay, and I still have not even bought a pair of sneakers. That's not happening, but that was a fun little exercise. No, what you do is you literally visualize, walk into the store and get sneakers. Call your friend who runs and ask for advice. Oh my God, that's me on my first training run. I've only gone 30 seconds and I'm out of breath. Oh, there I am running 3 miles in the rain and I feel proud of myself because I've actually gone out in the rain. Oh, there I am saying no to my friends. I can't go out tonight because I didn't get my run in, but I'm going to go on my big run alone. That, like, you visualize the annoying, irritating, amazing things. I'm sure people look at you all the time with your extraordinary success, Stephen, and are like, how'd you do it? How'd you do it? And like, do you know how many things I missed out on? Do you know how many, the amount of work that nobody wants to do because they're not thinking about it is extraordinary. That's the bridge. Anybody is capable of achieving anything. I actually believe that because I think human beings are designed to change. You're capable of breaking any pattern. You're capable of getting control of your health. You're capable of launching a business. You're capable of making millions of dollars. You're capable of healing your trauma, of finding love, of doing absolutely anything that you put your mind to, as long as you are willing to do the work for it and as long as you give up your timeline. Because I do believe that people who put in the work get rewarded, but you just might not get rewarded when you think you're going to be. And it might not be the reward that you thought you were going to get. Well, I think the law of attraction and manifesting are the same thing. Mm-hmm. So law of attraction, for everybody who has not read The Secret, is simply your thoughts become things. Mm-hmm. And it's true. We've talked all about how when you have a negative self-talk, it tends to draw more of that to you. I think about it like lint in a dryer. Once negative stuff starts collecting, it collects a lot more. We can also talk about your brain filter, something called the reticular activity system, and how it is a live network that filters the brain. We'll dig into that deeper, but let's do surface level right now, manifesting law of attraction. So here's what everybody gets wrong about manifesting. Everybody, at least kind of in the mass market, what you're trained to think about when you think about manifesting is vision boards. Mm-hmm. And when you hear the word vision boards, you think about the big stuff. Should you have big dreams? Of course you should. Should you dream of building a mansion on the ocean if that's your thing? Yes. Should you dream of the log cabin? Yes. If you want a Lamborghini or the new Ford Bronco, should you? Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. If you want the family, if you want the body, should you think about? Yeah, absolutely. Here's where everybody goes wrong. You dream about the end. You make this gorgeous collage of all this stuff that has nothing to do with your current life. That literally, as you're sitting in your studio apartment with the cat box that hasn't been changed in 2 weeks.
No food in the fridge.
No food in the fridge. And you're looking for a job and you're staring at a mansion going, someday, it's going to make you feel like a loser. Yeah. Because the gap between where you are and where you want to go, it seems insurmountable. And so what happens, based on the research, is when you only visualize the end game, Lewis, it's demotivating. At first, it's really fun to like have a bottle of wine and make your like collage. I'm gonna visualize. I'm gonna slap this up. There's my vision board. It's fabulous. Law of attraction, baby. Come on. I'm gonna think about it. It's gonna come to me. Okay, I've been doing this for 2 days. I'm still in this apartment with the cat box that needs to be changed. The way to visualize properly is to visualize the bridge between where you are and where you need to go.
The bridge.
Yes, and particularly the horrible stuff. So let's use your example of the marathon. The vision board would be Lewis crossing.
With the arms up at the metal.
The arms up at the metal, exactly.
High fives, yeah,
high fives.
I did it.
Yes, I did it, exactly. That will not help you. Because when you hit mile 13 on the actual race and it is sleeting rain.
You're saying, why am I doing this?
Yes, and it feels nothing like that thing on your vision board. You're going to start a negative dialogue. I can't do this. My knees hurt. This is not what I thought it was going to be. I'm not ready for this. I didn't train for this. I'm running New York. I trained in LA. Are you running in New York?
LA.
Okay, good. Well, then at least you trained in the right weather.
Yeah.
So on and on and on, and you are going to tank yourself. What you do by visualizing the bridge is you train your nervous system and your mind to do the hard work. So you should visualize not crossing the finish line, but what is it like to be at mile 12 when your batteries run out on your earbuds?
Yeah.
No, I'm serious.
Yeah.
And you keep going. What's it like when your shoelace breaks and now your heel is lifting and you're starting to get a blood blister at mile 17? What's it feel like when you wake up and it is pouring rain and you visualize yourself running anyway? That way, when you visualize the work, you are preparing your body for it so you're not resistant to it when it comes.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
I think it's great. It's a story that I had George St. Pierre, who's one of the greatest UFC fighters of all time. He said that he always puts himself in the most uncomfortable situations in practice leading up to the fight. The hardest situations to get himself out of. When his arms are behind his back and he's face against the mat and in between the fence and he's just getting punched in the face. He's like, how do I get out of this?
Right.
He's like, visualize that and seeing how can I get through this?
Yeah, exactly.
When it seems like I just want to tap out.
Yes.
Instead of tapping out, what's the process for figuring out how to get through it?
Yeah.
To then raise my hand at the end victorious.
Totally. And so you are literally building up almost like this resilience and this muscle inside of you to do the work to get the thing. So yeah, create the vision board, but make sure in addition to crossing the finish line, you have somebody running in the rain.
Right.
You have somebody you have an alarm clock that says 5:13. You have, these images that show the stuff that you don't want to do. So like for people who want to launch a business, for example, like a lot of people that I'm sure follow both of us are dying to launch a business or interested in being an influencer, social media, or making money online. And what you visualize are the checks, or you visualize the money you're going to make, or you visualize how cool it's going to be when you're a lifestyle entrepreneur, whatever the hell it is. Don't do that. Visualize working a day job and telling your friends that you're not going to go out tonight because you're working on something.
Yeah.
Visualize making cold calls and being told no. Visualize not going to that party because you're staying in on a Saturday and not going to the barbecue because you're putting in the work.
Yeah.
Visualize sitting at a seminar and learning from other people. Visualize watching YouTube videos. Visualize your first ever course failing miserably.
Right.
Like literally, that's the sort of thing that you want to visualize yourself doing and pushing through, because that's going to help you do the work.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
I think that's great. Yeah, visualizing. So in order to manifest what you want, don't just visualize the good things happening, visualize the bridge, all the things it's going to take to get
Yes,
there.
and the hard parts of the bridge, because then you're ready for it. Then you're like, I didn't expect this to be this hard. I mean, it's still going to be hard,
Right.
but you're less likely to quit.
Yes. So what have you done in the last 5 years to help you manifest after the first book? Were you doing this as well, or kind of once you get on a rhythm and build momentum, does it become easier to manifest, in your opinion?
Well, so I am constantly training my mind to work for me. And there's this little trick that I talk about in the book that is all sort of the beginning of having a high five attitude. And a high five attitude is the ability to catch yourself when you're going mentally low and to flip yourself back up into a high five attitude.
Okay.
The thing that I know to be true is that you cannot control the things around you. You can't control what's going to happen. You can't even control how your nervous system might respond or what thoughts might pop into your head. But you can always choose what you do next and what you make it mean, right? And so that's where all the power is.
Yes.
And so I do this thing where this is, again, it's going to sound so dumb, but it's a way for me to introduce you to the power that your mind has to change in real time.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about negative self-talk. And part of the reason why negative self-talk is so crippling is not only because you've repeated it for so long and now it's a pattern, but it's also because you have a filter on your brain called the reticular activity system, okay? This puppy is the keys to everything. And it's remarkable that most of us have never heard of it. We've experienced it, but we don't know how to use it to our advantage. So first, let me tell you what the RAS does. Then I'm going to give you an example of when you've experienced it in your life. And then I'm going to explain to you how to use it to get what you want in life. This is like the super attractor manifesting, and it also works for interrupting negative self-talk. Like it's going to supercharge all the work you're doing with the mirror and interrupting thoughts. So first, let's talk about the RAS. So the RAS, imagine a hairnet on your brain, only it's like electric, meaning it's alive, okay? Now, the RAS has one job, and the job is block out 99% of what's going on and let in 1% of what's going on. Our brains at this moment in history are having to process about 34 days worth of cell phone data in one day.
Crazy.
It's crazy. And so your RAS has a monster job. It's like a bouncer at a bar. You're not coming in, you can come in. And you've experienced this. So have you ever shopped for a car?
Yes.
Okay, so what's the last car you bought?
Tesla.
Oh, Tesla. Oh, fancy.
Yeah,
Lewis House. I like that.
Well, I never had a nice car until 3 years ago. I had a $4,000 car for 5 years before that.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you know what? I have no Bluetooth. It's like, I just needed an upgrade.
No, I love it.
It was
You
a
deserve it.
1991.
Dude, you deserve it.
I had a 1991
deserve
Cadillac.
it.
And I was like, okay,
You
let me
deserve
buy
it.
a car. So I bought a Tesla, yeah.
Right. And so before you thought about buying a Tesla, you drive down the road, you don't really think about it. The second you're like, I think I'm interested in a Tesla. What do you see everywhere?
Teslas.
Yes, everywhere.
Everywhere.
My husband just bought a pickup truck. I'd never even noticed them. Now I'm like, there are baby blue pickup trucks everywhere. What is going on? That's the bouncer in your brain. And let me tell you how this works. There are only 4 things that automatically get through the bouncer in your brain, the RAS. Number 1, your name. So you've experienced being in a crowded place and somebody's like, you think you hear Lewis and you're like, huh? Somebody call my name? That was the bouncer in your brain. The second thing that always gets let in is any threat to your safety. So there are loud noises all the time, but only ones in close proximity make you go like this. That was the bouncer in your brain letting it in.
Okay.
The third thing that gets let in is when you sense that your partner is interested in sex with you or somebody else. You're like, Chris, who are you looking at? Stop looking at her. You know what I'm saying? You kind of pick up on the signals. That's the bouncer in your brain. And the fourth one, and this is the $1 billion thing that everybody needs to know. The bouncer in your brain lets in whatever you think is important to you. So when you get intentional about telling your brain what's important to you, like, I'm interested in a Tesla, your brain's literally like, oh, let all the Teslas in. Come on in. Here's the downside to this. If you have told yourself that you are a bad person for the last 10 years, guess what your brain thinks is important? Examples that mean you're a bad person.
Right.
So I'm going to give you a very specific example. So I personally don't think I'm a bad person. I don't think I'm perfect, but I know I do my best. I mean well. I don't have that story about myself at all. I used to, but I don't. And let's say I oversleep and I miss the dentist. I miss the dentist appointment. I'm like, oh, I got to pay the $25. I got to reschedule that thing. That kind of blows. That's all I think. And then I go on. My daughter, who constantly beats herself up and says she's a bad person, this is a real example, by the way. She oversleeps, misses a dentist appointment, and it becomes, see, I always screw everything up. I'm always messing things up. Like everything that gets let in confirms that you're a bad person.
She finds proof and evidence.
Yes, that's the bouncer in your mind. I'm here to tell you that when you get intentional about what you want to think about yourself, it changes in real time what your brain lets in and what it doesn't.
Yeah.
That helps you with the other things that you're doing. The high five in the mirror, the I'm not thinking about that, the pathetic mantra. Hey, just because I missed the dentist appointment doesn't mean I'm a bad person. I'm doing the best I can here. Give myself a break.
Right.
High five. You know what I'm saying? Shake it off. Get back in there. It's true, right?
Right.
Because it's these little things. Somebody cuts you off. Somebody reaches for the last thing of cereal that you wanted to buy at the grocery store. You think it's like a sign that the world's out to get you. This is all your story and your mind skewing the world to prove all of the stuff you keep repeating. And the only way to get a handle on it is to start acting the opposite. Like high five yourself, even though you don't feel like it. Interrupt the crap that you keep saying. Put your hands on your heart and settle your body down.
Yeah.
All of these things are things that somebody does when they care about themselves, when they think they deserve to be treated with kindness, when they think they deserve support, and when they realize they need it. And when you start to build yourself back up, you'll show up very differently in other relationships.
Absolutely.
If you tolerate this kind of treatment from yourself, you'll tolerate it from other people. It does begin with you. Hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed that video, by God, please subscribe because I don't want you to miss a thing. Thank you so much for being here. We've got so much amazing stuff coming. Thank you so much for sending this stuff to your friends and your family. I love you. We create these videos for you. So make sure you subscribe. Mwah.